Welcome back to your holiday celebration, you poor bastard. You're doing this on Christmas? Thanks for staying with us. So, the Independence Institute is a free market organization, and we've been around for 30 years pushing all sorts of crazy ideas like taxpayer limitation and choice in education and charter schools. And so I thought it'd be fun to meet some of the folks who are there every day. These are the people who annoy me. Somebody who annoys me every day, our operations director, Mary MacFarlane. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
All right. And we call him affectionately Media Monkey, Justin.
Thank you, John.
Justin Longo. That's a good WAP name. I like that.
I love it.
All right. You have told me many times you're unemployable.
100%.
I know that because I employ you. Why are you unemployable?
I feel like I have very little skills to offer in this world except what I do at II. So thank you, sir.
And I have the cleanest office ever. You clean that so well. What do you do for II?
I'm called the media guy, or the media monkey, as you guys call me. I do a lot of video production work. I do a lot of back-end coding on the emails when we send emails. I do a lot of script writing and production for all of the things that go out to the public. Basically, anytime II wants to say something to the public or to the press, it somehow has to come through me. Either I'm writing it,
and that's why we lose.
Correct. That's why we're a failing organization.
But you say you can't live. You're serious free market geek. I mean, you are probably the geekiest among all of us geeks. George Mason. What is George Mason?
George Mason is the school that I accidentally ended up at when I was doing my college thing. I wanted to skate DC. So I picked a bunch of schools around.
Skate DC?
I wanted to skateboard DC. And
what does that mean?
I wanted to use my skateboard and do tricks in the city of Washington, D.C., right? So I chose schools that I was going to apply to around that school. And one of the schools around that city, and one of the schools is George Mason. I ended up George Mason, and I fell in love with economics. So my very first year, my very first class I took there was Intro to Micro Econ, and I loved every second of it. And so because of econ, I got super into Liberty, and therefore ended up at II.
And you can't work anyplace else.
That's just it's like such a hardcore passion that I don't think I'm capable
anywhere else. Your path was a little different. Now you've worked for me as an assistant. You work as the operations person. You keep the building running and keep everything going. What did you do before this? It was 8. You've been here 8 years now.
Yes, I mean between college and II, there wasn't much time. I worked at First Bank when I first moved out to Denver, which was a great company to work for, but not quite for me.
You don't work for them anymore. You can lie. You don't have to lie anymore.
No, they were. And actually, back in the old days of Facebook, when you could sort people by political affiliation, my friend Amanda found me that way because I was listed as libertarian.
Now, did you know her before that?
No, I did not know her. I meant to say that. Yeah.
She sought you out because you were listed as libertarian.
Yes, exactly, and invited me to something called Liberty on the Rocks, which actually Justin founded or co-founded, and I went there.
What is Liberty on the Rocks?
Yeah, I mean it's kind of a liberty-minded folks get together for a drink.
They get blotto. Let's just be honest. These are libertarians who like to drink. That's
somewhat. But yeah, I kind of showed up alone, which I was a little nervous, kind of showing up just alone. And
so somebody reached out from Facebook because you were actually a large L libertarian.
Large L libertarian.
And said, hey, there's a group of guys getting together, talking about stuff, and having some beer. You ought to come.
Yep.
And what happened when you went there?
And
besides getting hit on a lot.
Well, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But
Sorry about that.
my Amanda introduced me to some folks from II. She worked there part-time, and so, I had no idea there was a state-based free market think tank. I was a donor of Cato, actually, at that point, so the Cato Institute in D.C. And so I was thrilled. I was willing to do anything to get an internship. You know.
We're going to let that one just fly right on by. Speaking of which, how politically incorrect is II? Could you possibly work anyplace else without being fired?
I would be probably in jail if I were working anywhere else.
Because?
II is very politically incorrect. We do a lot of crazy things around. I probably can't say it on air.
So. The amount of reckless humor is, I think, would that be the right way to put it?
Yeah, I would say it's a little not made for TV.
let's be honest, it's just damn immature.
Yes.
It's not it's just a bunch of kids
Yes.
making bad jokes.
Middle school.
Yes.
Middle school humor.
Maybe South Park Elementary.
It
is
is.
what it reminds me of.
Yes, that's a good point.
There's something that's odd about independence, and that, I mean, there are a lot of politically driven organizations and ideological groups, but tell me if I'm wrong on this. The different personalities that make up II, the kind of core group of folks, is amazing. We have hardcore Christians, we have hardcore atheists, we have straights, we have gays, we've got people who are, you know, as diverse as you could possibly imagine, but they're all driven here. Why?
I think that's a testament to the ideals of freedom and liberty. I think no matter where you come from in this world, whether you're born lower classes, upper classes, black, white, purple, gay, straight, there is something in liberty for you. Liberty is your ability to have self-determination.
Give me a definition, because we toss that around. I mean, that's a code word for us, liberty. We, you know, give me something I can hang a hat on.
It's your ability to live your life unmolested from other people, uncoerced, unforced. You have self-determination. So people from all walks of life can appreciate the fact that they want to have some semblance of control over their lives and not be at the whim of other people.
I like that. You buy that one too?
I buy it. Yeah. I can attest to that.
Now,
yeah.
unlike Justin, you could get a job other places.
Not anymore. I mean,
Well, maybe not.
maybe not anymore.
No, you actually have skills.
Okay.
And you can hold back your raunchy humor, unlike some people.
Yeah.
For the
yes,
most part.
Yes.
But you stay. Why?
Yes.
It ain't for the pay.
No, I really believe in what we do. I think we make a big difference in Colorado, and
How so? I mean, how do you explain it to your friends?
It's much different, I think, than a national think tank. I mean, from the day-to-day, from the fact that we have a 2-page income tax return,
Right.
As opposed to others, just day-to-day stuff that you can point out and say, oh, I did that.
Right.
I just.
Yeah, Colorado has a flat tax because of
stuff we did,
Colorado
yeah.
has charter schools because of II. Colorado has concealed carry because of II.
Term
Right.
limits.
Term limits because of. I mean, we can just go down, and we can actually get things done, while national think tanks can try, but it's just too big. It's just too big.
Agreed.
That was one of the things that attracted me to II was that I'd been 10 miles from DC for all those years at George Mason and really into free market economics and liberty, and I realized interacting in some national think tanks how little impact they really can have, because they're like a small fish in a gigantic pond. And I thought to myself, it'd be better to be a medium-sized fish in a smaller pond. And this is where the beauty of II is that we are the bigger fish in a smaller pond here in Denver. So it's the ability to get stuff done because we're not in that federal cesspool in DC.
Mary said that a friend of hers, or she didn't even know at the time, found her out and said, hey, come on to Liberty on the Rocks. Liberty on the Rocks was a creation that you helped put together. How do you explain it?
So myself and 2 of my friends, and Amanda Mills, one of them, we were interns at II in 2007, 2008. And we said, hey, we're young people. We want to meet other young, liberty-minded, libertarian people. I was a young person back then. So we decided, hey, how do we best meet other young libertarian people? How about we create a group that meets at the bar twice a month, and we talk about liberty stuff. And since we're meeting at the bar, that'll attract the young people. And so we kind of like planted our flag and said, we are Liberty on the Rocks. We're a group that meets at the bar. We talk about libertarian liberty issues. If you want to come hang out with us, come hang out with us. So we've been around since 2008, 7 years going strong. I still run the Denver chapter myself, and now we're around the...
People want to show up there.
LibertyOnTheRocks.org.
LibertyOnTheRocks.org.
Yeah.
All right. So Mary tells us about her path. How did you get here? I mean, that was also interesting. Yours was online. Yours was online.
Yeah. So I did 2 degrees at George Mason. I did econ the second time around, and I was just, I'm telling you, I'm fully obsessed with econ at this point, as I still am. And I did a bunch of research and decided I wanted to move to Denver. I thought Denver was the best city in the country.
Because of the skateboarding.
No, well, sort of. Snowboarding too. So I did a Google search. I knew I was coming to Denver, and I did a Google search Free Market Think Tank Colorado, just to see what would come up, because that was my ideal job, was to be in this space, in this world. And I wanted to be in this world in a smaller pond. I did the Google search, and the only relevant result was Independence Institute. So I said, all right, I'm going to move to Denver. And the day after I moved to Denver, because of that Google result, I Googled the address. I walked in, I talked to Kay Color, and I said, hey, I just came here from the DC area, and I want to just work for you guys for a little bit, and hopefully you'll eventually start paying me. And eventually you did. Very little.
It went over a long time.
Yeah.
I don't know why I pay you at all.
I know, it's barely anything, so it's okay.
All right, you think about all the different things. Well, actually, let me ask you this. As you guys are young, you might feel,
not anymore.
Oh, shut up. You're young.
I am.
Why is it that young people aren't as involved or don't embrace this philosophy of liberty, of being able to live your life unmolested?
You know, I think it's, especially with college nowadays and the campuses and the sensitivity and that kind of, the professors left over from the 60s and that whole mindset of the government should be taking care of you kind of thing, it must have something to do with it, because I've just never understood it. A lot of my friends think that way, but I don't understand it. I mean, that would be one of my guesses.
I mean, it's amazing that the rather simplistic thinking of we want everyone to have food, give everybody food, and then it's taken care of. Why so many of your compatriots?
I think it has something to do with the idea that it's easy to imagine in your head that you could direct the economy, or you could direct people's lives. It's easy to imagine that. All it takes is somebody in charge to issue decrees from on high, and you can imagine the change that could affect. It's hard to imagine a decentralized market economy and market situation where people are free to do what they want to do.
For the most part, your colleagues and people your age don't want things that are that much different than you. They want the same end, don't they?
Right.
You know, they want good lives. They want freedom to speak. They just want a different way to do it. All right, last quick question, 10 seconds. Best boss ever?
Jon Caldara, obviously.
Jon Caldara.
Yeah, thanks for the delay. Hey, thank you so much. Check out the Independence Institute, independenceinstitute.org. Merry Christmas. You've almost made it through. We'll see you next week.